Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another political episode. So, this is the headline of the day. We've never had a break today because it honestly, we haven't seen this like in forever. This is the very first time since Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev went at it in Reykjavik, Iceland, where the United States, where, we had I wouldn't say a fight, but a tense standoff. And the media, as you can clearly see right here, they're trying to spin it into Trump, he's so stubborn. Trump, he doesn't know how to negotiate. Trump doesn't know how to be a professional. But really, I think Americans can see through the grift. Honestly, this meeting was a dud because Volodymyr Zelensky is an elitist, okay? And he relies on big tech companies and the European establishment to praise him and basically carry him around and pretend that he's the big guy. He is the hero. He is the victim. Even though Volodymyr Zelensky is using this war to only enshrine himself in wealth. He is only using this war to get rich and, of course, take advantage of other countries. Now, Europe's okay with this. Now, if we know Europe is benefiting from this war, because obviously we know that having an alliance of around 30 countries pinned against one country and its allies, like Belarus, Serbia, and China, it's NATO versus that Eastern Bloc. That sounds pretty World War III. It would be like the Allied powers, which includes NATO versus the Eastern powers, which involves Russia, Serbia, Belarus, China, North Korea, Iran, whatever you want to call them. This starts to look like World War III. So you're seeing the map, and it's looking very much like World War III. President Trump basically called it out. He's not going to say, hey, look, Vladimir, it's not really looking so good. No, you are leading us to World War III. You are paying for a third world war. We are paying for a third world war. That's exactly what's happening. You and we're paying with taxpayer dollars. We're paying for weapons and equipment and missiles going to Ukraine. That's exactly where our tax dollars are going to. It's ridiculous. Eventually, sure, I don't even know why we were supposed to help Ukraine. Ukraine has had a very toxic relationship with the United States for a pretty long time. I mean, I can even pull it up on Wikipedia. Let's go ahead and see United States-Ukraine relations. Obviously, those relations have gone down, and rightfully so, because they only like us. Okay, it says 60%, 80% expressing a favorable view in 2002. And this is just public opinion. We're talking about government, okay? The public opinion doesn't matter. I'm sure the people in Iran like us. I mean, you better believe they like us. I mean, we're trying to free them. I mean, really, we have nothing to do with them, but we're their only hope. Because Iran, we don't even want to know what they're doing to their own people. But so obviously in the most repressive countries, they're going to look at us very favorably. But in regards to, there's 2019, Zelensky and Trump. So this isn't the first time, of course, Zelensky grew a beard, which is annoying. I just want to know about overall the relationship The United States. So yeah, the United States enjoys cordially friendly relations. I want to know about 2014 though. But yeah, I could have swore the revolution. I think it was in 2009 when things started to go downhill. 2009 Orange Revolution. Okay. The United States enjoys cordially friendly and strategic relations with independent Ukraine and attaches great importance to the success of Ukraine's transition to a democracy. Because believe it or not, they were formerly communist, with a flourishing market economy. Following a period of economic decline characterized by high inflation and continued reliance on state controls, the Ukrainian government began taking steps in the fall of 1999 to reinvigorate economic reform that had been stalled for years due to a lack of reform. A reform majority in the Ukrainian parliament. The Ukrainian government stated determination to implement comprehensive economic reform is a welcome development in the eyes of the U.S. government, and the U.S. is committed to supporting Ukraine in continuing on this path. So, yes, when Ukraine was independent, we were friendly with Ukraine. But 2009, we weren't actually friendly. And who was president in 2009? Barack Hussein Obama. Okay? I'm just saying, bilateral relations suffered a setback in September 2002. Okay, so apparently we had one setback when the federal government of the U.S. announced it had authenticated a recording of President Leonid Choma's July 2000 decision to transfer a Cholchuga early warning system to Iraq. The government denied that the transfer had occurred. Ukraine's democratic Orange Revolution has led to closer cooperation and more open dialogue. Okay, so I was wrong altogether. Ultimately, Ukraine was very close to, obviously, Belarus and Russia in the early 2000s. They were called the Slavic Sisters. And Ukraine was not really associated with the West. It was seen as an Eastern country. But after that Orange Revolution, which actually turned the path of the said government and leading to the fall of, let's see. Yeah. This is 2005. Government, opposition, Viktor Yushchenko, he was declared the winner. And under Yushchenko, the United States had closer ties. So, U.S. policy remains centered on realizing and strengthening a democratic, prosperous, a primary recipient of FSA assistance. Total U.S. assistance since independence has been more than $3 billion. That's ridiculous. U.S. assistance to Ukraine is targeted to promote political and economic reform and to address urgent humanitarian needs. The U.S. has consistently encouraged Ukraine's transition to a democratic society. Yeah. Okay, so it just told us right there. Obviously, in addition, and into support there, when was relations really strained? I want to leave. It was under list of presidents of Ukraine. It's actually this guy that strained the United States relations. Actually, shoot. 2010. Yes, it was Viktor Yanukovych. Yes, he was the guy we just talked about. So he was seen as the opposition leader. What happened? He was, and you can see the areas in blue, Donbass, and otherwise the territories Russia owns, right? What happened in 2014? I'll tell you what happened in 2014. So, the revolution broke out. The revolution of dignity. So you had the Orange Revolution, something totally different. Then there's the revolution of dignity. And I know we want to jump into the Zelensky-Trump talks, but we need to cover history first about United States Ukraine. So thank you for your patience. This saw the overthrow. Obviously, this saw what was the Maiden's People's Union, an anti-government, anti-Yanukovych. Despite Yanukovych being aligned with the United States, he was still pro-East. He was still anti-Europe, and he was very pro-Russia. And what ended up happening was revolution, the opposition wins, and Viktor Yanukovych is thrown out of power. And what do you think happens? Well, you'll see the blue area, the areas in blue, they begin to rise up, especially this area right here. The area in the much darker blue. Duh, it's Donbass and Luhansk, right? Luhansk and Donbass. And today, they eventually declare their independence as the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics. There's also Crimea, Sevastopol. Russia invades after that revolution, so it's not long. This ultimately starts the Russo-Ukrainian War. Not too long. They had a presidential election. Actually, no, they had an election. They had the election during the invasion, but ultimately Russia didn't take land. That much land. Obviously, you'll see areas Crimea, and also I'm not sure if Donbass is yet a part of the Russian Federation yet, but Crimea, occupied territories, no elections. So you could clearly see, and ever since then, it's been more of a stalemate until that 2022 election where Russia felt the need to expand. Why did they feel the need to expand? Well, let's be honest with ourselves. We are going to be devil's advocate in this video. NATO is not the good guy. Russia is not the good guy. No one here is the good guy. So who is the good guy? Who is to blame? I'm going to go ahead and say that NATO's to blame. Because really, Russia allegedly says that the reason why they went after Ukraine, it's because it's because Ukraine under Volodymyr Zelensky wanted to join NATO. And according to Putin and the Russian Federation, that is a threat to, he said, that is a threat to their country, right? So think about it. Putin's obviously not happy that they have Finland, Estonia, and Latvia bordered with them. Now, Ukraine is a country with strained relations with Russia. And along with Georgia, I can guarantee you this would be no different. If we said, hey, Georgia, come join the EU, come join NATO, oh boy, Putin would have invaded Georgia. But ideally, it's these two countries, Ukraine and Georgia, that Putin feels very controlling of. They do not want them to be a part of this alliance. And what good does this alliance do? No, it's an alliance to intimidate Russia, and it's an alliance to glorify Western values, which really are no different than Eastern totalitarianism. No different. We're just easier. We're just better at keeping it quiet, right? Of hiding it. So you get the deal. NATO is expanding east. And it has been ever since the Cold War. Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, they joined the said NATO alliance after the end of the Cold War. Russia was on good terms with NATO, so they weren't really having a problem with it. But now Putin comes along, And he starts to have a problem with NATO. And NATO wants to expand west more. What? No. Plus, you got Russia is allegedly trying to stop that expansion of the West by instating a friendly government in Ukraine, and obviously keeping Lukashenko the dictator of Belarus. So you got two countries, and I don't know if he plans to do something in Moldova, but what he wants to do is expand westward and stop the West from expanding east. And you guys think Georgia? That's what I'm saying, guys. In order to prevent this, what's going to happen is we end this war. NATO's not going to learn a thing. NATO will try to initiate a war between Russia and Georgia, just like the one in 2008. Why would they do such a thing like they did with Ukraine? Oh, we already know, because they want money. They want money. Obviously, Georgia is much more weak than Ukraine, and Georgia got their butts kicked. Ideally, though, you got two provinces in Georgia that are already allegedly independent countries. So there's nothing really to go to war with Georgia unless Georgia joins NATO. Then that is a threat to Russian security. Same deal as the Ukraine war. Then this would lead to a second invasion of Georgia. We don't want that. We do not want that. So therefore, we need to we gotta talk about the future of NATO. I don't support this alliance, guys. Absolutely not. Because what good is this alliance? Is this alliance making the world better? Is this alliance preserving peace? It's not. It's actually making things worse. It's starting wars. The Balkans. Take a look at the Balkans. Yugoslavia. It was living hell down there. It was if not the bloodiest war since World War II in Europe. Take a look, and then you got Ukraine. You got Georgia. And NATO is getting more involved because the Soviet Union and the Eastern Pact, the Warsaw Pact, is disintegrated. There's no opposition. So therefore, we can start wars all around, costing millions of lives. This isn't preserving peace. It's doing the exact opposite. And on top of that, we try to expand, intimidate Russia, start a war, get more money, get rich. That is not what America First is. And obviously, J.D. Vance is very frustrated. Don't mind Greg Foreman. He is going to be in the corner, but he's mostly silent. But this is a very important encounter. The liberal media is touting this footage around like it's the best thing, and it is. This is the next grift they're going to do for their dying party. Look at how Trump can't even negotiate correctly. President Biden was smacked in the head by this guy, beat up, and Biden's giving him money. Biden has zero respect for himself. Biden has zero respect for this country. President Trump isn't going to let this guy in our soil determine how it's going to go. And the thing is, Ukraine. We have no problem with Ukraine. We don't like that you're ripping us off. And that you intend to get away with this, with ripping us off. So President Trump is saying, hey, look, we need some minerals. We need your minerals from Donbass. We need some of those in order to pay us back. And Zelensky is having some mixed feelings about that. And we're like, okay, this is what we want. You get we gave you 3 years of support. You got to pay us back. And we want your minerals. Is that so hard? Well, here's the thing. Zelensky's pearl clutching. Zelensky is holding his money and his gold and his silver and his minerals, all of that, and saying, but they're mine. I mean, I'm the victim. I was invaded. Well, here's the thing. We aren't your ally. Ukraine, yeah, we went over the history of Ukraine and the United States and their relations. Yeah, we went over that. But that's still not, that's economic partnership. We do that with every country, guys. The Middle East. We do that more with Algeria. And out of the sudden, just because we're trading partners, economic partners, we have to run and help Ukraine. No. Here's the thing. We are in an alliance with Ukraine. An alliance says it all. An alliance, you make a commitment to defend each other or to help each other when things get wrong. Ukraine is not in NATO, and they won't be in NATO. Zelensky is very upset that that is not going to be the case. And he's having a hard time. Because, let's be honest, guys, this was the trigger word to get Putin to invade Ukraine. Is the trigger word the solution? No, it's not. It's never the solution. The trigger word that starts the fight is never the solution in the end of the argument. So no, Ukraine's not joining NATO. And Zelensky thinks it is. And Zelensky thinks it's getting Crimea and Donbass back. Nope, they're gone. Crimea is gone, for sure. No, you're not getting Crimea back. Donbass and Novorossiya, I tell you, those two territories, they've been rebelling for 10 years. The most logic and most sensical solution to this was say, hey, look, Ukraine, I know this is a lot for you, but you got to give these regions up. They want to be a part of Russia. This isn't like George Floyd or some riot that happens for a couple months. No, this is 10 years. We got to prevent future conflicts, and in order to prevent future conflicts, you got to deliver harsh and brutal truths. That yes, Ukraine, it's unfortunate, but you're gonna have to get an amputation. Let's be honest with ourselves. This is no different than an amputation. When you have a disease and your arm is infected, you come to the harsh reality that you gotta get rid of your arm. You're gonna have that arm amputated at some point. Otherwise, what happens? It gets worse and worse and worse. And eventually you will die because of the infection. This is no different than an amputation. You have the disease, and that is the rebels in Donbass, the liberationists that want to be a part of Russia. They want to be free and independent. They are dead serious. They have declared their allegiance to Russia. They're actually banning the language of Ukrainian. You are not allowed to speak Ukrainian in Donbass, and that is in order to shift the culture more Russian. Make it so people around the world will perceptually view Donbass as a Russian province. But yeah, they are 100% committed. They're serious. 10 years, guys. You think we're going to say, okay, we defeated Russia. No, they're going to go on. The Palestinians in Palestine, 80 years, 90 years of fighting Israel. 80 years, 90 years. They would think you would get used to being ruled by Israelis or Jews. But no, they are dead set of declaring an Islamic State in the Levant. That was promised to them a long time ago by the British. So we already have the Palestine issue, right? There will be no two-state solution, and that's a brutal truth that we have to recognize in Israel and Palestine. We take a look at Ukraine, though. We don't want this to turn into such a complicated event like the Middle East. Ukraine retains its reset pre-World War borders, what it was before 2022. You know what will keep happening? The rebels in Donbass will continue to rebel. Just amputate it. Amputate it. You amputate your arm, and guess what? It will heal. It takes healing, and you gotta learn life without your arm. And that's what Ukraine will have to do without Donbass. It's a very rich region of minerals. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to take the minerals. I can guarantee you that ever since that war began, that region's not that rich anymore. It's not that rich. But it's a mining, very well known for mining. And yeah, it's the somber reality is Ukraine, you're losing a big province, but there's nothing you can do about it. Zelensky in denial. Ukraine in denial. They think they can take it back. They think they can win Crimea back. That's not going to happen. That is absolutely not going to happen. You got to be insane. So what's the better solution for Ukraine? Give the territories that Russia took to Russia, and Russia pays reparation for all the damages, and also so Zelensky's getting his paycheck, but he won't have much seacoast, and that's probably what he's concerned about, losing that mining region in Donbass, and also losing the ports like Odessa and those seaports to the Russians. But I have to tell you something. They already lost them. Ukraine thinks they still have them. But here's the map of Ukraine right now. Well, actually, let's see if there's Russo-Ukrainian war map. I want to see a map. This is, let's see, in 2022 invasion. I know I'm taking forever to see the actual footage, but there is so much that will be explained, and I think it's better to do it right now instead of middle of the video, because a lot of you guys will be like, okay, just unpause the video. We don't care, unpause the video. Well, it's better to talk about this now so we can watch the video, and you guys can skip ahead and actually see the reaction. But we need to address why this is a problem and what Zelensky is expecting, what America is expecting. There's a lot to go over. So 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. You can clearly see there is a map there. Perfect. Okay. All this land, not the blue though. The blue will remain, the recaptured territory of Ukraine will remain a part of Ukraine. But the red, right here, will be a part of Russia now. It's not like it's a part of Russia right now anyway. In 2022, in September, Putin annexed this area. Putin annexed it. Ukraine, NATO, United States, we don't recognize it. But what if we were to make peace? What we will be doing is we would be agreeing with Putin. Yes, this is the real borders. And giving Putin that win is going to be hard. But guess what? We knew Ukraine is just they can't beat Russia. It's a superpower. Ukraine scores some political wins. And those wins will not be forgotten. Ultimately, Putin wanted to actually remove Zelensky and establish a pro-Russian government. Did that happen? It did not. So, in return, Putin's idea of getting a pro-Russian government in Ukraine has failed. But it's not like he got free land or whatever, but he's still paying for that land off of reparations. And Ukraine does, okay, they will keep Odessa. Never mind. They will keep Odessa. They won't have the sea coast like they had before, like this coast right here, or this coast that leads to that Crimean Sea here. They'll just have this coast right here. And obviously, hey, you get less money, less trade, less resources. What else can I tell you? This is the only way forward. Okay, I got some guinea pigs barking, but this is the only way forward. Look at this. This is just where we are right now. The lines haven't moved. It hasn't moved for 3 years. And we are only delaying the inevitable. Zelensky has said he wanted peace, but he's having second thoughts. He thinks he can grift us to get more money. And he is so stupid to actually think this is the Biden administration. That we're actually going to sit down and have a conversation and pat and slap the cheeks of Zelensky. No, we're not. Guess what? There's a reason why Europe is rolling in their graves right now. Take a look at your pro-elitist European friends, Zelensky, rolling around in the dirt. Obviously, we're driving them insane because we're putting America first. But anyway, without further more ado, let's go ahead and get started. And see this exchange. We'll pause when things really need to be addressed, but I really hope that it really doesn't need to. We'll pause probably when Greg will speak. That's sort of my plan.
Well, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem.
Okay, my computer's crashing. Give me 1 second. But yeah, this is a good pausing break. But yeah, you clearly can tell this is just a grift. Trump is getting mad at his former friend because obviously, guys, you have coast and ocean. You won't feel it. What? Feel what? The consequences of not having Ukraine. What's Ukraine doing for us? Guys, this is a third world country right now. Now, President Trump's offended because Zelensky just basically called our country incompetent. Like, we can't handle existence without Ukraine. But it's just hilarious.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no position to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly what
Remember
you're
this.
doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't have you play cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
So, yeah, obviously this is where Greg will stop and talk, so I'm going to stop again. Like I said at the beginning of this video, there's nothing wrong what Trump is saying. He's actually saying facts, because the whole existence of NATO is a gamble. Are you serious? Alliance against a country, a superpower. You just whack him with the stick and hope he whacks back so a world war breaks out. And all of a sudden, this country is being under attack by 30 countries, and this country gets the help of its allies, and yeah, war. I mean, North Korea is already sending troops to Ukraine on the behalf of Putin. Do you think they're actually getting soldiers? They're actually getting paid? Of course they are! Why would Kim Jong-un send men all the way to another continent to die for nothing? No. I'm telling you, Putin's giving North Korea something that's very valuable. Probably more nuclear arms or more nuclear abilities, something to better their nuclear program. But yeah, they are very active in North Korea, in Ukraine. Why can't Ukraine give us the minerals? It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, the whole NATO thing is just stupid. It's literally suicide. I cannot explain it. What should have happened? The Cold War, and if the Cold War is over, then NATO needs to dissolve. And each country needs to go their way. Oh, we need to be together, yada yada. And then you have the European Union. Why are we involved? I mean, it's bad enough you got 30 countries in an alliance against one big country. But to have a superpower in that country, it makes it much more worse. So there will be a World War III one day if NATO doesn't dissolve. We all saying we're gambling with World War III. Yeah, we're gambling by letting NATO still exist. But let's continue on. JD is going to continue to scold Zelensky, and it's going to be absolutely priceless.
The American people's best interest for there to be peace.
This entire meeting? No, in this entire
today,
meeting, you said thank
even
you.
Today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, We are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military equipment. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask how.
Okay. So obviously, Zelensky, he wants peace. But he just wants it his way. AKA, he thinks Trump is going to give him the win. No, nobody is winning. MSNBC, CNN, they're already saying, oh, Trump's giving it to Russia. Trump giving territory to Ukraine. No, yeah, it was a very unexpected and unfortunate event that should have taken, and the alignment of that event resulted to Ukraine losing land. Period. What do you think? Ukraine's going to take land from Russia? Are you kidding? No way. So unrealistic. Crimea is going to be part of Russia. This war is going to end. And not only that, but that butcherous, I don't know what the reason, Novi Russia, as much as we hate to admit it, it will be a part of Russia. And if they decide someday, no, actually, we're going to keep it a part of Ukraine, okay. But, hey, Ukraine is signing up for a future civil war. And there will be a new page on Wikipedia called Ukrainian Civil War 2027 or something like that. And guess what? We will have nothing to do with it because we are doing our part right now. And eventually, hey, things could get so bad that the Donbass radical pro-Russian rebels could take over Ukraine. And there you go. Putin got his way. Eventually, he got his way. So you cannot win on this. Hey, maybe you will be a de facto member of NATO, but you're not going to be a part of NATO, period. Because being a part of NATO is what provoked Putin. NATO expansion is what's deteriorating European-Russian relations. So let's stop! Come on! No way, we don't want to stop because we're getting money from NATO. Getting money, and we're getting power. But yes, Greg will share his exchange, which is obviously very different from mine. He comes from a different point of view, and he sees things differently, and it does help. By a lot. But obviously, this is pretty much it. Wait, here we go.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful. Because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
Okay. Trump is correct. Here's the thing. Zelensky, relations are going downhill with everyone. United States. I mean, hey, eventually you're going to lose us, and you're going to have to face the hard life. You're losing your cards. Ukraine, you want to deteriorate relations over this? Fine. But the smart thing would be taking Trump's advice. Because if you take Trump's advice, we might be more willing to help you in the next conflict. Hopefully you don't fall into, we're more willing to help you next time. And guess what? We will remember, hey, Ukraine, United States, we helped Ukraine fight off Russia, and Ukraine gave us minerals to help our economy. We have better feelings towards Ukraine, and the people in Ukraine have better feelings towards America. But it seems to me Zelensky doesn't want to get on board with the relationship. Zelensky doesn't want to advance the friendship because, in his mind, we were friends way better because he was getting money. And a weak administration in the United States was just letting Ukraine rip us off. That's not how friendship works. Friends help each other out. And what we saw from the United States in, of course, United States and Ukraine in 2022, that was slavery. Like, Ukraine was chaining America up and treating us like an ATM. That's all it was. That's all it was. We were an ATM, but now we are now an actual, legitimate, competent country with competent leadership. We're saying no. Obviously, Zelensky doesn't want a ceasefire. No, he wants his way. Zelensky was upset that really Zelensky wasn't invited to the peace talks with Putin and Trump. It was just a Trump and Putin talk. The EU was also seething. But guess what? They're the ones that started this. So, do you think that they get to be a part of the peace talks? No, they started the war. In Ukraine, you allowed it to happen. You played along with the European established, European grift. You played around. And so, yeah, I think it's a Trump and Putin talk. And ideally, they're going to say, oh, Trump's giving in to Putin because there's no other scenario where we can end this war. So eventually, yeah, what do you think? We're going to restore pre-war borders? Well, restoring pre-war borders isn't going to help Ukraine. Because afterwards, this is going to start a civil war. I can guarantee you, restore pre-war borders, a civil war will erupt. Like Donbass, Luhansk, and all these territories right here, they will secede, and there will be the Confederate States of Ukraine. They will secede and create its own government. Putin will support it, and here we go again. We're suddenly sending troops to the front line to take out the Putinist Ukraine. This is ridiculous. So, and yes, then again, my amputation analogy. You keep your infected arm, it just poisons you. And eventually, yeah, Ukraine fighting all these wars in their country, they're going to collapse. And the Confederation, the Eastern Ukrainian states, or oblasts, they would be declared, they would take over Kiev, and we lost Ukraine. It's now pro-Eastern again. It's anti-West, anti-NATO, and you know what? Hey, I think NATO deserves it. They, I don't know, effed around and found out. This is exactly how it went. So, yeah, there's nothing much I can say. Nothing that's going to help the best scenario and best way forward for Ukraine is going to be giving up those territories, because now you don't have secessionists. A future separatist revolt has been provoked, and ultimately Ukraine can focus on rebuilding its economy and growing its relations and becoming a stable country. But keeping its lands that don't want to be a part of your country, you know what all that's going to do? It's going to throw you into a civil war. And all strife and hell will break out. And Russia, who knows? They might invade again. Zelensky's saying that, Putin signed a treaty and a contract in 2019, and he broke the contract. Yeah, I believe it. He'll probably break it again. Putin is a very smart man. Everyone is so angry at Trump for saying the fact. He is. He invaded 2 countries, guys. He invaded Georgia in 2008. Took them out in 6 days. He invaded Ukraine in 2014. Took Crimea. And then he invaded again in 2022. And the media is saying, how dare you say he's smart? You guys are idiots. Obviously, you don't know foreign politics. So yes, I'm just saying, hey, you want the war to end? Perfect. Then this is what's going to happen. Ukraine gives its territories up to Russia. Russia pays reparations for those territories and for the cities and the damages they cost Ukraine. Ukraine is getting money, and I'm sure the EU, NATO, which they love Ukraine so much, they'll give them money also. Everyone wins. But Zelensky is in a spiral denial. He thinks he can keep Donbass. He thinks he can keep Crimea. And ultimately, his ego is on the line. And his career is on the line. Because he knows if he gives those territories up, the public is going to sour over him. Let's keep in mind, guys, Zelensky was elected in, 2019. Defeating Petro Poroshenko, because Petro was not really helping Ukraine in the war that much. He lost in a landslide, so a lot of people don't like him. Volodymyr Zelensky, very popular in Ukraine. He has, once again, thanks to the EU establishment, they've idolized him as a hero, as a idol, and as a savior for the Ukrainian people. But what happens to him when he openly and willingly allows those territories to go to Russia? That suddenly goes away. You're a traitor. You're a treasonous. And obviously, no wonder why Zelensky hasn't been elected yet. He's power clenching right now. He's saying, I'm going to use the war to extend my term, because he knows he may not win re-election. He knows that, right now, he's going to win re-election. Definitely. Absolutely. But that can change if he ships those territories to Russia. So I understand why Zelensky is so I'm not sure this is a good idea. My power. That's why he's talking about resigning if the war ends. And I sure hope he does. My goodness. He's the biggest grifter that Ukraine has ever had. And maybe we can actually advance American and Ukrainian relations. If this were to happen, would Ukraine have toxic feelings towards us? Yes. I can guarantee you, Ukraine, we're going to have Canada moments where if we go play football in Ukraine, they're going to boo us. And they're going to mock us on social media. Yeah, that's going to happen, guys. I'm sorry. When the United States takes roles like that, hey, we did this in 1904. In 1904, we said, hey, Japan, hey, Russia, let's make peace. And Teddy Roosevelt, he said, we're going to split the island. I don't know if it's Okinawa. It's that big Sakhalin Island. That island originally was completely Russian. Japan took the south of the island. Russia didn't like us after that. We loved the Russians back in the old Teddy Roosevelt days. Before then, even Russia gave us some advice in the Civil War. We gave them some troops in the Crimean War. We helped each other all the time. But now they felt betrayed when we told them, "Hey, you know what, Russia, you're going to have to give some land." And they didn't like us after that. And ultimately, that relationship, maybe it increased because we would support them in the Russian Civil War. But then again, I think they were just too, how the government was just too screwed up to even get a reaction and form a relationship. But to wrap this video up, what eventually happens, you may ask? Well, Zelensky, yes, it's true. He's escorted out of the White House. It's not like he threw books or anything. No. Trump said, hey, you come back when you are ready to negotiate. Obviously, a somber reality, but I think Zelensky will go home and he will actually, hopefully, I'm hoping he actually recognizes, hey, Trump is not Biden. Trump is not playing around here. Biden, he will tell me that I will win the war, even though there's no way you will win the war. Trump tells hard truths, and he does not care if you're offended by them. And I respect that, absolutely. And ultimately, Zelensky's going to say, hey, look, put my pride and my ego aside. I may be known as a traitor or a Richard Nixon or something like that. But if I love Ukraine, I'm going to have to really think, what is the better outcome for Ukraine? What is the better outcome here? Pride? Becoming the best president of Ukraine? Or ridding Ukraine from a separatist revolt? And turning Ukraine into a prosperous economic nation? I think that's the best outcome. Yes, Ukraine has less sea access. But they do have sea access, duh. They have neighbors, allies, Poland, Lithuania, they're friends. They are more than willing to contribute to help them out, especially after this war. They have proved staunch loyalty. So I obviously do think that, yes, I do think that this is the best way forward. All the liberals on this channel will say, you are supporting Putin, and all right, no, I'm not even going to go after you guys. But the point is, this is the way forward. Funny thing is, the White House staff eating at Zelensky's and Trump's lunch. Eating Zelensky food. It was over. Like, we aren't going to, let's pause it for now and eat lunch. No, Zelensky was out. Inside how Trump and sent Zelensky home with no deal and no meal. Like, oh yeah, sorry Zelensky, you're gonna have to find lunch somewhere else. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.